What's up, everybody? It's Friday. TGIF, man. TGIF, ABC block, step by step. Sabrina Teenage Witch, Boy Meets World. But we also have SmackDown tonight. I'm Dominic D'Angelo. It's at Free Shows, and I'm with Robert Karplus, WE Creative _ish. Robert, I've had a lot of coffee, if you can't tell already.
It's Friday night, and the mood is right. Come on and have some fun. We'll show you how it's done. TGIF. That's right. Oh, I'm going to know the jingle for the early 90s TGIF. That's primarily what I'm here for. I would have gone with what would have been the obscure thing, which is sing the Perfect Strangers theme song. But thanks to Only Murders in the Building, it's now been at the forefront of everybody's mind.
That's right.
You know, we're good there. Say hi to some of the folks. E says, howdy, y'all. Dre Owen says, ready for R&I. And Alt Jake, good morning, everyone. Are we live, pal? We are live. Yes, thank you. Yesterday had a heck of an interesting meeting. I was unable to be here. I will be talking about that opportunity in the days and weeks to come. That's going to be super fun for me and any of you in the South Florida area. It's going to be something it's a little intriguing little tease. But those of you who have listened to Working Stiff or Wrestle Roasts for years, I am going to be paying off what's essentially a 4-year-long running joke by the end of this year. And I could not be more excited. Could not be more excited to be here today, now, to talk about No Sleep Till SmackDown, because they are in Brooklyn. It's clever.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, I thought about that. Good alliteration, right? But we got to talk.
What's the word you just tried to say? You tried to say alliteration.
Alliteration. I said alliteration.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a lot of noises.
Yes, but SmackDown's in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. Is that still partially owned by Jay-Z, or is that gone now? Is that?
I don't believe Jay-Z still has his ownership stake in the Nets.
Okay.
I know years ago when I was doing business with Jay-Z, he still did.
Oh, you were doing business with Jay-Z?
Different story, different podcast, different world.
It's a hard knock life. Yes, SmackDown preview. Not a lot on tap that they have, but what they have is pretty intriguing. And plus the fact that they're in Brooklyn, you know that some big stuff's going to go down.
Do we
have? Yeah, I would think so, right?
Here's the challenge that they've got here for SmackDown. First of all, Wrestling Old Head sneaking in here. Good after morning, everybody. Late, but wishing you all a happy Friday. Here's the challenge with tonight's SmackDown, which will be a solid show. They're taping 2 episodes of SmackDown tonight, which means essentially a split crew.
That's right.
So one of the issues you run into when you have a multi-show taping night is you don't want to overexert your talent, which means half the talent will probably wrestle on the first show, the other half will wrestle on the second show. There may be 1 or 2 folks that pull double duty in some capacity. But for the most part, if they're wrestling on show 1, they'll have some sort of segment on show 2. Where you're seeing that most apparent is in the Andrade Carmelo Hayes match. So you want to set the table for that match there, sir?
Sure, yes. So they did unofficially do a best of 7. Shout out to Nikita Koloff and Magnum TA and Booker T and Chris Benoit.
Let's I tell you what.
Much.
As long as I'm on the show, let's not send a shout out to Chris Benoit.
Let's not do that. But we have match 7, series tied 3-3. LA Knight as a special referee, pitting Andrade against.
Damn it, Dom.
Didn't mean to shout out Chris Benoit.
Yeah, way to go. Jeez. Guys, this is why sometimes I have to talk over Dom, because if he's left to his own devices, you know, he's like, he was going to open today's show with, Eric and Lyle Menendez might be getting out. Can't wait to host a wrestling podcast with them, the Real Brothers of Destruction, produced by Dominic D'Angelo. This is what happens when I record Working Stiff on a Friday. Usually recorded on a Thursday, myself and Scott Chaplin. I get it all out of my system. Because he's in Baltimore, he's doing his comedy show in Baltimore and in Washington, D.C., we had to record this morning. So it was a wild one that we had there for Working Stiff. You posted it, right, Dom?
Oh, it's up. Awesome.
So, you can go listen to that when you're done with this here. But that being said, you're doing this unofficial best of 7. We're getting this back on track here. Match with Andrade and Carmelo Hayes. So you're going to probably get a good solid 13 to 15 minutes of wrestling action there. At least 2 commercial breaks. LA Knight is the referee, which means LA Knight, in some form or fashion, is going to have to make the call of who wins and who loses. That allows next week, in quotes, later on in that show, to happen with a fallout. Let's say he helps Andrade win. Carmelo Hayes is going to be all angry. He's going to be up in his face, and there's going to be a shouting match. Or in the alternative, Andrade's mad, and we get a little bit of that. We'll see what that leads to, but it will lead to something. I do want to point out here, you got Ron Ward saying he's lying, Robert. It's not in my feed. My feed's right here. My working stiff feed. It is called More Lawsuits and Haunted Hotels. And then, I accidentally clicked on this, but 6ix9ine said, and if you want to do a best of 7 with your significant other,
oh, that's a good segue. I like that.
Promo code rumor. No, we'll save Blue Chew. You want to prolong that. You don't want the Blue Chew ad to be too premature.
We don't want the white juice happening.
That was yesterday. Stop it. Behave yourself, sir. It's a family program. We're not allowed to say the Marcus D'Angelo words on this show. But there is a number 1 contenders match in this this evening as well.
Right, there is. We have the tag team championship number 1 contenders match. DIY Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa taking on the Motor City Machine Guns and Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. Yes, should be a fun one, Robert. We talked about how this was going to be kind of like a match that's exciting for the tag division, and hey, they could set a new tone for what they're doing with this tag team division and going forward with these two teams. Robert,
it's a real chance to reset the tag division, obviously, for stars of the independents, for stars of a few different other companies before now being here on the main roster of WWE on SmackDown in the Barclays Center. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be curious if we wind up getting a finish here or the possibility of just the bloodline appear and lay everybody out.
Yeah.
But, it'll be exciting to see Motor City Machine Guns, and it'll be exciting to see DIY. And guys, if you like to do it yourself, can we recommend our friends at Blue Chew?
Hey,
our new sponsor needs no introduction. You've seen the ads. You've heard us talk about it a million times. And I bet there's a big part of you, pun intended, that wants to try it. What am I talking about? Blue Chew. That's right. This isn't your grandpa's blue pill. This is the one, the OG chewable tablet for better sex. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in chewable form. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door. The best part, it's all done online. No visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. Blue Chew wants you to have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. If you want your Motor City Machine Guns running and you want your bloodline flowing and you don't want to be doing it yourself, tag in Blue Chew, because Blue Chew wants the entire country rock hard. That's their mission. They will not stop until every man is bricked up like a brick house, till every tent is pitched, till every rod is raised. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code RUMOR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code RUMOR to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this episode of Rumor and Innuendo.
Oh, thank you, Blue Chew. Thank you.
So full disclosure.
Uh-huh.
As soon as I went into that transition, the cleaning lady walked in. She was stripping the bedding, and the entire time I'm reading that Blue Chew ad, she's just staring at me. I'm going to need to get a new cleaning lady, guys. This is a dark moment. It happened once before with another cleaning where she walked in and walked out.
Yeah.
Here, she was here the whole time. So I'm trying to keep the Blue Chew ad on the tracks. Um, I may get Vince McMahon style Me Too at this point. This was unintentional. We started the transition before she walked in there. Whew.
You
Dom,
could reiterate to her the promo code if you see her again.
I I don't know her. I don't know her personal relationship, but if she does have a significant other,
Yeah.
BlueChew.com promo code rumor. I don't think she should be taking Blue Chew. I'm not a doctor, but I'm relatively sure it's not designed for our female audience to directly consume. But what our fans across, I'm trying to get this back in the chat, all love to consume are some of the rumors and innuendo that are out there. There's a report right now from Dave Meltzer that the WWE has been intentionally feeding him incorrect rumor and innuendo,
What?
specifically as it relates to Kevin Owens. The This is coming from Cassidy Haynes of bodyslam.net. And another report says, I got tipped off last week that Kevin Owens had been signed for months, but WWE isn't leaking that to their media. They want to report that. They're waiting it out because they want Meltzer to start opening up suggestions that AEW could get in the mix and maybe sign him. Because then they'll leak out that Owens is signed because it makes Meltzer look wrong. That's the games they play, but I think either Dave got tipped off for the same information or he sniffed it out because he put out the correct report. So that was courtesy of Joe Lanza.
Mhm.
So doesn't surprise me. Not new.
No.
When I was there in the organization, um, someone with which I worked with, whose name is not going to be divulged or named, Court Bauer, floated out just little rumors just to see what would wind up springing up. And at one point, we had worked ourselves into a shoot by something getting leaked out there about Dave Lagana moving from SmackDown to ECW. There was no truth to that rumor. And then Dave Lagana got moved from SmackDown to ECW. So it was kind of a reverse. I guess someone saw them. It's a good idea.
Let's get him over there.
But yeah, you're always going to work the dirt sheets to your advantage, and that's the way that it always kind of operated. The way that people would, if I give you three pieces of true information and then one thing that I want you to report to manifest it into happening, they kind of know that, and that's why when someone's like, "Well, Dave Meltzer's a journalist," he's a guy who's reporting rumors. It doesn't need to be substantiated. When I know Meltzer also put out a tweet saying, they were like, "Oh, if Dave wasn't working wrestling, he'd be working at McDonald's." Like, no, if it wasn't that, I'd be an NFL reporter. Well, you wouldn't, because there's certain credentials and requirements for that. And the NFL and the NFLPA have a pretty stringent process in terms of who they allow access to. And if you put out one of those rumors, they're gonna cut off your access pretty. We saw the Matthew Stafford thing earlier this week with the Rams. There was suddenly this rumor that he's being traded. It was unsubstantiated. It was wrong. And that person instantly discredited and done. In the wrestling world, yeah, floated out there. It was somewhat of a story, this idea of whether or not Kevin Owens was going to re-sign or not. And WWE used it on TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but play into it, lean into it. That's what the thing, and it kind of plays to what's been going on with Kevin Owens with this viral social media under the radar, not on television aspect of Kevin Owens going on. So,
absolutely,
yeah, not a new thing.
Also, 6ix9ine with another thing here is, have you seen all the TikToks and memes regarding WrestleMania ticket prices? So I'm not a TikTok guy.
What?
I don't love the idea of China owning my name, likeness, and having all the information on my phone. I've actually worked for companies in the past that have explicitly prohibited us from downloading TikTok because of the potential for whatever security things. But I know that there's a lot of people who are very angry about the essentially ticket price surges that have happened with WrestleMania tickets. I bought my tickets online live during Rumor and Innuendo 2 days ago. And I admittedly could have reached out to friends who are in WWE, talent on Raw or SmackDown with whom I have good relationships with. I didn't want to do that for WrestleMania because even before TKO era, they really only get like 4 comps a person. Wow. And like, or 6, they're going to want it for family. And I'm like, I'm not going to if I can go and support WrestleMania, if it's a Raw, yeah, I'll be like, hey, someone please hook me up. Cool. But for WrestleMania, you're going to go and you're going to want to enjoy it. I went to one where WrestleMania fully comped, the one down here in Miami with Rock and Cena, because we were going to be seat fillers. So you're
Oh,
constantly worried you're going to get moved. They never moved us. We watched the entire show. It was fine. But I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. It's a show I'm happy to support. But when I did see those ticket prices, there was definitely a little bit of sticker shock.
yeah. Yeah, there was.
So, that being said, go subscribe to the Working Stiff Patreon to help us out here because dang, WrestleMania is stiff. You'll be there as a reporter.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, so you don't have to worry about these things. Dom's a buttoned up ace reporter. He's a regular Jimmy Olsen. Who I
I
know
got the
was a
scoop.
photographer. I know he's a photographer. Relax. I don't need letters. But yeah, WrestleMania tickets are expensive, but other side of that did not stop people from buying them.
Nope, that's
Those
true.
things flew off the shelves. Part of the issue in the entertainment world right now is very few things move the needle in terms of people going to spend money. People
Mhm.
don't have to go to the movie theater because it's going to be streaming in a matter of days. And most people's home theaters are probably better than what they would get at the movies. You don't have to worry about people texting. You don't have to worry about spending $16 on popcorn, parking, babysitter, all that stuff. There were movies where I was like, oh, I want to see Beetlejuice. My daughter had seen it with friends. I was like, oh, we'll watch it. And all of a sudden it was streaming a week
Yeah,
later.
it's
Damn.
yeah, crazy.
I did go to the theater to go see that Saturday Night Live movie because I really was curious about seeing it. Theater was like tumbleweeds.
Nobody there.
Opening week, nobody there.
Oh,
So
wow.
unless it's a big Marvel movie or whatever, not Venom, but like a real Marvel movie, people aren't going to go to the theater. You're not buying physical media for DVDs or CDs. You're streaming everything on Spotify, iTunes, the place you find these podcasts here. You have free
Yeah.
entertainment by this. So the only thing that the entertainment industry can truly kind of price gouge you on is the live event experience. Live sports, live entertainment. And they know if it's important to you or if it's important to your children, you're going to have to open up your wallet and you're going to spend money on it.
Right. The pressure's on. And it's considering too it's on Vegas. It's in Vegas. That's a lot of money gets spent over there, just so
A
you
lot of
know.
money gets spent over there. And yeah, I'm sure if you wait over time and you want to get upper deck seats, they're going to be a little bit more reasonable. But I say that with the asterisk of it's still going to probably be several $100s a ticket.
Yep.
And that's asking a lot from the fan base. It's asking a lot from the people. But this is the company that used to routinely ask you to spend 30, 40, $50 a month on pay-per-views. And neither
Yeah.
one of us did that nonsense, Dom.
I didn't do that. I watched the squiggly lines.
Yes,
But
we've watched the squiggly lines. That was back in the old days, and there's no good transition to this next story other than it took place in the old days, and here we are now. Um, it is the Ring Boy lawsuit that's going on. So, Dom, without any further praise of Chris Benoit, do you think you can get through this story?
yeah. So a couple days ago, the law firms of
Don't read the
DiCello,
names. Lawyers. Lawyers don't need
lawyers.
names. They're all awful. They're all wonderful people, but they're all awful.
Okay, well, they're bringing a lawsuit, initiate a lawsuit against World Wrestling Entertainment, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, and Linda McMahon, and the TKO Group Holdings Incorporated. The lawsuit is being brought on behalf of 5 survivors of sexual abuse, identified as John Does 1 through 5, who allege they were subjected to systematic abuse while working as ring boys for WWE during their youth. The quote said by one of these lawyers, one of the attorneys, is these survivors are profiles encouraged. 1/3 of child sex abuse victims never come forward, silenced by shame, humiliation, and trauma. A Vince McMahon attorney responded, saying more than 30 years ago, the columnist Phil Mushnick tried to make headlines with these same false claims. Those allegations were never proven and ultimately became the subject of a defamation lawsuit against Mr. Mushnick. These negligence claims against Mr. McMahon that were asserted today rely on these same absurd, defamatory, and utterly meritless statements by Mr. Mushnick. We will vigorously defend Mr. McMahon and are confident that the court will find that these claims are untrue and unfounded. Now, there was a response from these attorneys today, I believe, or maybe late yesterday. said, this is on behalf of the Ring Boys. If you read the 81-page complaint, you are going to see multiple facts, myriad facts, dozens of facts that have nothing to do with Phil Mushnick. We have the fact that we have Mel Phillips shuttling young boys in plain sight in front of WWE executives and wrestlers from state to state. You have them in plain sight staying in hotel rooms with young boys. You have a plain sight Mel Phillips engaging in sexual foot fetishes in the ring in front of people, in the locker room in front of wrestlers, and he was even provided his private dressing room in certain areas. You have FBI videotape where the FBI said the behavioral science until said this is consistent with pedophilia and sexual foot fetishes. So, wow, Robert, a lot more laid on regarding this over 40-year-old scandal going on. Is that how long it's been? I think.
It says more than 30 years ago. I don't know how long it is. So a couple things that I want to break down here in this,
Mm-hmm.
because obviously these are serious allegations. This is a serious claim. Um, and then Andrew H points out that the way you said complaint,
I did say.
uh, yikes. So there's the ring boy allegations that occurred with Mel Phillips and I believe Terry Garvin, and I don't believe that there's any dispute that Mel Phillips had engaged in whatever actions he himself had engaged in. The idea and knowledge that WWE was somehow aware of this and allowed it to happen under negligence, which is duty, breach, causation, and damage, that's where this becomes really, really challenging. That was Phil Mushnick's claim a long time ago. The idea that WWE as a company or Vince McMahon personally knew that this was happening and was allowing it to occur. That's where this really becomes challenging to prove because some of the facts that they are alleging here, and I have not read the 81-page complaint, but this is what their attorneys are putting out right in front. And this is where this is problematic. They're saying that Mel Phillips was shuttling young boys from state to state. There is no knowledge of anybody knowing the ages of these people who were working as ring boys, which is the name for it. They would go to cities and they would have local crews, local people set up the rings. No one necessarily knows how old they were. So maybe at the worst case scenario, you're getting them on child labor. But I don't know what those state requirements and statutes were at the time, how they were allowed to do this. That's a separate claim from the sexual abuse claims. So if
Mhm.
Mel had folks that were going from state to state and taking them across state lines at the behest of the WWE. The WWE was not saying take these person from state to state because we know that you are engaging in inappropriate sexual relations with minors. That's where it's a little challenging to say, okay, simply seeing them go state to state, them staying in hotels. I don't know that they have evidence of Vince McMahon seeing Mel Phillips going into a room with a child and saying, "All right, good night." And I'm not
Mhm.
being flippant, but it's like that's kind of what you need to have. There needs to be knowledge. There needs to be um, some understanding of what the situation is. The components about Mel Phillips having sexual foot fetishes in the ring or locker room, that is not inherently illegal. It may be something that someone's going to view as being different, but there's nothing against the law with that. Now, if they saw him engaging in these sorts of activities with known underage children in a ring in a public environment, that's where it becomes truly problematic. So let's say he was, I don't want to hypothesize, but if he was engaging in some sort of activity like that openly in the center of the ring with someone that was known to be under the age of 18, that's pause for concern of, hey, maybe something is not right here.
Mhm.
The timing of this lawsuit right now feels opportunistic given the Netflix documentary, given the Janelle Grant stuff. So either new information has come to light that they have and that they feel confident in this, or they're hoping by drudging this up that Vince is just going to write a check and that WWE is just going to pay to make this go away. It'll be interesting to see how this unfolds. But given that these charges did get drummed up many years ago and ultimately went away, we'll see what happens here. I think there is a heavy burden of proof that these lawyers need to be able to prove, given the time of these allegations. I believe Mel Phillips has passed and is rotting in hell. Terry Garvin as well. So you're going after Vince. You're going after the WWE. I would have no issue if they were going after Mel Phillips. and
Yeah.
who's the person that perpetrated this. But to say we as a company are liable for what happened because we somehow created this environment, I'd really need to see the case that they were laying out. But I think that it is absolutely a heavy burden for them to have to overcome. Obviously, these are very serious allegations, especially this notion that Vince would have known and allowed something like this to occur, given that he himself has talked about being a child victim of sexual assault.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was thinking too, is that added aspect of it all too. Um, Somebody does add in here, Robert. Maybe you know this too. 6ix9ine asks about, is there a statute of limitations when it comes to these lawsuits? And then Alt Jake did say that New York recently did lift the statutes recently. I don't know if that's true or
So
not.
I believe there was something where statute of limitation limits were lifted. So that may be what they are taking advantage of.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, but that's what I'm saying. That to that element, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we will see what's coming down the pipe. I think Vince's response of like, look, this was Phil Mushnick trying to engage in I don't want to say yellow journalism because that's not what it was, but this sensationalism idea of latching onto everything. And there were a lot of ugly elements too, as they tried to bring Pat Patterson into it. And I know Bruce Pritchard has always said Pat was brought into it simply by the fact that Pat was openly gay and working in wrestling. And then it was just, well, we're just going to throw him into this, even though there was no necessarily evidence. Um, this could get very ugly. We'll see how it goes. I just know from a legal standpoint, I'm going to assume that they really have checked their facts and they're not relying on Phil Mushnick or Meltzer or anything like that.
Right. Because yeah, they both. I mean, Mushnick has a reputation of really going after WWE. So we'll see how it all pans out. Pretty wild stuff, obviously, with the documentary coming through, and then you have all these lawsuits, and it seems like the time to kind of do something like this if you're looking forward. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But it's always just a bad situation, though. Obviously, you just don't like it. So,
Oh, of course, it's going to be it's going to be what it's going to be. We'll follow that story here. Um, Ultimately, I would not be surprised if they just decide to find a path to settle this one
yeah,
way or the other. It was sort of the same method that Finch used for the Rita Chatterton situation.
hmm
I don't know that we're ever going to know the full truth, but we'll see. The truth is, there's no way to segue out of this safely on a
there
Friday.
isn't. There isn't.
None. But the truth is, the new episode of Working Stiff is up now. I just checked it on the Spotify. So when you're done listening to this, watching this live, go give that a listen. If you're listening to this or watching this at a later time, go pull up the thing on the Spotify, the iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. Go listen to both. Dom, hell of a producer for posting this. Dom's a hell of a producer of a number of other shows.
That's
Dom.
correct. Yes, I just recorded last night with Rob Van Dam, one of a kind, with RVD. Give a little talk about just a little bit of everything going on in wrestling. I give his thoughts on Adam Cole. And no, I don't. That's actually a lie. Did I get any thoughts on Adam Cole? No, I don't think I did. That was with Greg Gagne and Magnum TA. I recorded 2 episodes. So it all take a look. Go to rvdtv.com.
Oh, I'd love to hear Greg Gagne's take on Matt. I would love to hear Greg Gagne's take on Adam Cole, and he'd be like, "This guy is too skinny with small arms." Take it from me, Greg Gagne.
You'll have to tune in because it's up now on fourhorsemannetwork.com. And the episode will be up later today on your podcast feed of choice. Just type in Four Horsemen Network on your podcast feed. You'll get Arn's show, the Arn show, back in audio form, and you'll get Straight Talk with the Boss, Magnum TA Greg Gagne.
Arn show's back just in time because we're getting close to Thanksgiving season, and listening to Arn talk about what he eats Thanksgiving.
It's a highlight of the show, that's for sure. But Robert, like you said, you recorded Working Stiff, and I'm excited to listen to it. I was listening to it before we got on,
so you didn't quality control the episode in advance.
Not at all. Well, I did put the intro on.
Producer in the biz, oh, thank you, 6ix9ine saying RVD says vote yes on Amendment 3. In Florida, Amendment 3 is about legalization of marijuana. So I'm assuming that's what we're talking about here. If you are in the United States and you are registered to vote, make sure that you go out and do that. If you have early voting wherever you are, go take advantage of it. You don't want to be waiting on Election Day. That is my little weird civic plug at the end of this episode. But We will be back on Monday, live at noon Eastern on a plethora of platforms, including the WW Creative _ish X account, the SE Scoops X account, and on YouTube on ad-free shows, Working Stiff, and Rumor and Innuendo. So as I go have to look for a new cleaning lady on behalf of the bangled out Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpolis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Oh, Robert, you're my perfect stranger.